Nintendo is like so far up on that list. And then way down is anything Sony does. And then way down is anything Microsoft does.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. It's me, it's Rich, it's Carrie. Rich, what's going on, man?
Oh, not too much. A lot of news this week, it feels like, but not too much on my side.
Fair enough. What about you, Carrie? You got anything to share? Anything new?
Yeah, the Asus sent me their new desktop-y thing. It's kind of like a small form factor desktop.
Like the Nook?
No, this is like you can put a full. It's like old school desktop, but small. So I took a look at that. They have a 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, which is like a nice all rounder. The price is a bit high. That's what I'm going to be doing soon. But outside of that, no, it's just some different news catching up to, like a few different handheld stuff.
So that device that you're talking, it's not in the show notes. We didn't plan on talking about it. So feel free to say, just watch my video, Bill. When the hell are they going to stop partnering with NVIDIA for this stuff and start putting in AMD graphics cards so that we can throw SteamOS on there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It's such a weird thing, right? Like NVIDIA is like 90%. If you look at Steam stats, if you look at the GPUs used, it's 90% NVIDIA.
Yeah.
SteamOS pretty much runs like crap with that because the NVIDIA drivers are garbage on Linux, and Valve does RedV for AMD pretty much exclusively. So Mesa works pretty well, but Valve doesn't do stuff for Mesa directly, and Mesa does stuff for Intel. So ostensibly, you have Intel and AMD, which are the two least used GPUs on desktop PC, and that is what everything is on SteamOS. So it's a weird situation, to be sure. But I don't know. I think it really just comes down to people want NVIDIA. They just know that NVIDIA is better, and that's what they want. So Asus is going to make the thing that sells.
That's true. You're not wrong about that. It just makes me really like, sure. I want something small. I want a small form factor, and that's hard to do when you're building it yourself because they're always always huge.
The thing that's like crazy is like the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte thing that I was looking at. It's like $480, which isn't terrible. But AMD has something that's they say it's 15% better than a 5060 Ti, and it's like $130 cheaper.
Nice.
So it's $350. So which is even better price. So the 9060 XT, the RDNA 4 thing. So I think AMD has like a really compelling budget option, and it's not like it's better than what I'm looking at. So yeah, why wouldn't they have it and charge less? It seems like it'd be a win-win for them. But people look at AMD still and just, there's a whole marketing push that needs to happen before people fully understand that. It's only enthusiasts like us that really know what's going on, and that's we're the niche.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that I know what's going on.
I mean, you're using SteamOS, right? Like you're already super niche as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
I love SteamOS. Too bad this doesn't have an AMD GPU. Said 2% of the population.
Actually, of the 2% of people that are playing games using Linux, I think about half of them would even be in that. Like maybe 1% might actually have that reaction.
Sure.
I'm like the part of the people who want to use Linux that don't want to fight with like drivers and stuff. I just want it to turn on and work. I want my time to game to be low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
TTG. Yeah,
that's right.
TTG. All right. Well, anyway, we've got a lot of news stories to talk about, starting with Microsoft has, essentially shut down their plans to put out Project Keenan. And
no, that's still going.
Oh no. Yes, they're doubling down on Keenan. They're keeping that going, but they're shutting down their own. Like they were making an Xbox handheld, and it feels like what was it like a month ago that we were talking about this, and now they're like, yeah, you know what? Never mind. So
yeah, and the thing that like throws me too is that like it was all really rumors, right? And so like this is a rumor as well. I mean, like it's written and I believe I think there was a Jez Corden.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's got a pretty decent track record.
Right. And so to that degree, I believe that he's vetted this fully, right? And so like I believe it to be true. It's just weird to talk about a thing that wasn't officially announced and now is sort of canceled, right? And so like I don't really know what to make of it. But I mean, like my continued feeling with Microsoft is just that they are a tad directionless at the moment. And you know, I didn't when I talked about last episode, I think it was, where I talked about just Microsoft looking for like consumer acquisition, and Russ is like, they're kind of talking outside both sides of their mouth. They kind of are. Microsoft is, and I wonder if part of that is just they don't know what they're doing, right? Like they're kind of, I think Siri alluded to it last week, which is just like maybe some people at Microsoft want to do X and some people at Microsoft want to do Y, and they're trying to figure out what the next direction is.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah,
which is pretty common for Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a company that is that big, I don't know how many employees they have, but it's a lot. Right.
Yeah.
And you're always it takes a long time to turn a ship that big. Whereas when you're a small, lightweight speedboat, you can turn pretty quick, you know?
Sure.
So I understand how, you know, they might get, like Jez Corden might get this leak about, oh, this is canceled because, I don't know, maybe some C-suite guy is like, you know what, let's get rid of this thing. But then there's other C-suite guys that are like, no, we want this thing. We got to compete. My entire YouTube feed was completely filled up with people saying that Microsoft is canceling this in response to SteamOS being launched. I want to know what you guys think about that. I'm going to say what I think first, and maybe I'm wrong. I think that is a ridiculous idea because, like, I know that Microsoft has many times in the past just turned and pivoted and turned off something that they had put a bunch of money into. Their Zune, they had like a bunch of like the Windows 8 blocky stuff that they had, all of the things that they have started and then just thrown in the trash, kind of like Google does. They've done it before, but to me, it just feels like, yes, this came out and SteamOS came out at the same time, but I don't think correlation equals causation. What do you think about that, Carrie?
All right, so give me a moment here because I have 3 things to talk about. So I'm going to just say them, keep them in mind, and you guys can talk back with them. So buckle up.
Okay.
First things first is how much did my video like 2 years ago impact the rumors, even though that video only got like 30,000 views? I feel
which video?
The one where I said Xbox Handheld is possible, and I went through all the power numbers of like, it feels like since then, I feel like it ramped up and more to the point of like, oh, Series S was for this. Like, I don't think anyone really was talking about that prior to that, but maybe it's just my perspective. So keep that in mind. But number 2 is I don't think that an Xbox Handheld is actually canceled. I think whatever iteration that they were working on was shit canned. And I think that they're going back to the drawing board for it. So they're talking about another Xbox Series X successor. I don't feel like that is a worthwhile endeavor for them to just come out with a super powerful box because that does nothing for them. No one cares. People have a PS5. Sony wins the arms race. Even if Sony isn't as powerful, it doesn't matter. And even when you look at it, like they have their RDNA 1 Super in the PS5, right? They made RDNA 1 as good as RDNA 2. And by pushing that frequency, they actually had a 20% greater fill rate than the Xbox Series X. There's lots of crap that we can go into that. But I don't see Microsoft winning that war. And they have 2 different wars going on that they are keenly aware of, as evidenced by they are putting games on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. So I think that Game Pass is a thing that they want to have, but I don't think that, especially when you look at the Switch 2, which is half as good, half as powerful as a Series S, we had all that grumbling of, oh man, devs don't want to optimize for Series S, and the Series S is holding everything back. And now we have the Switch 2, which is going to be existing for another 7 years, that everyone is going to be porting to. And it's half as good as a Series S. So Series S is still going to be something that is a target and still used. And I still feel like if they were, if the targets for them were LPDDR5X and then they scrap those plans because LPDDR6 is what they want to hit, I think that is I'm still a believer. I will be the last believer that an Xbox handheld is still going on. And what we have here is a cancellation of what they were working on first. I still think it was a big miss for lots of reasons, but whatever. And then the third thing to address what you're saying directly. No, I don't think SteamOS had anything to do with what Microsoft is doing here at all. And I think that the PC handheld scape, what we talked about last week with Siri, is Microsoft 100% has the power to dictate what to put into these chips and what they want out of these chips. So when they say, hey, AI is a thing, we need AI stuff. And then they're like, okay, we'll put NPUs, which have gone largely unused in laptops for years now. And you're wasting expensive silicon area on these dies that do nothing. And Microsoft requested it, and they continue to do it. And now with Project Canaan, we have two Xbox PC handhelds that are basically making two of the best handheld chips that don't exist yet. And both of them are pushing a memory controller to their fastest speeds possible, which AMD was just dragging their knuckles on. Why? It seems like as soon as Microsoft says, hey, you know what would be great for these GPUs? Feeding them. And they're like, oh, okay, here you go. So I feel like Microsoft is aware of the power that they possess here, and that there is, specifically within the next generation, if we can get UDNA stuff, if Microsoft can twist AMD's arm to get UDNA GPUs instead of what was scheduled, because right now for most stuff that's going to be coming, it's still RDNA 3.5, so not very exciting stuff. If they could get UDNA, which is scheduled for Strix Halo, the next generation of Strix Halo, their big bad boy part, that thing is going to be just monstrous. It was monstrous before, and now it's going to be super monstrous, but it's going to be like $2,000, right? Like it's going to be a cost that makes no sense. So can Microsoft leverage their ability to say, no, you are actually going to make a handheld chip with UDNA in it, and it's going to be scaled down, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So are we going to have something like a Z3? Also, this quick aside here, because I was looking at the Lenovo Legion Go S, and there's just weird things going on with it on Windows side, insofar as it's just doing things really dumb after 15 watt. And I was like, oh, let me just try to force install the latest Radeon drivers. And it just installs them. So Z2 series, as far as I'm aware, just uses mainline Radeon drivers, which is news to me. So you no longer need OEM only waiting for them to get those drivers. You can just use that. So those are my three things. Did my initial video spark more additional rumors? Maybe, possibly. I don't know. It was only 30,000 views. But that could have snowballed. Number two is I don't believe that an Xbox handheld is like fully canceled. I just think that the iteration that they were working on is. And number three, SteamOS had zero to do with them canceling the current iteration of their thing. And instead they're leaning on the PC gaming handheld side, which they can lean on, especially, with regard to how that UX comes about. So those are my three thoughts.
So with SteamOS launching and the benchmarks being pretty heavily weighted towards SteamOS as being more performant.
Yes.
I saw a lot of people saying, well, that's the reason why. I don't think that's the reason why, but that's what I saw a lot of people saying is that's the reason why.
Well,
two things can be true at the same time. They could have changed their mind about making an Xbox handheld, and they could also not be happy with the performance that they're getting out of Windows. Rich, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff just like Carrie, mostly what Carrie said. First of all, I think I interrupted you early on, Bill, and we didn't really, I don't think, clarify. I think you alluded to what Canon is and what the other handheld is, but Canon being a Windows handheld that is manufactured by Asus, but it's considered a sort of first-party Microsoft handheld. That one is still being worked on, and it's slated.
That's the ugly one.
That's the ugly one, and it's slated for. Is it later this year?
Yeah, it's a few months away.
Few months away. That's Canon still being worked on. The other handheld, which I think Jazz thought it was codenamed Pembroke, but that might be another project. That is an Xbox handheld that would have played Xbox games, maybe has parity with an Xbox Series S, and that's the one that's been canceled, right? So, Bill, to your question, your initial question, how much is SteamOS a factor? I mean, it's about as much of a factor as Switch 2, right? Like these three things are all happening at the same time. This being canceled, SteamOS being released to a broader set of hardware, and Switch 2 on the cusp of being released. So, like, yeah, correlation is not causation. I am aware of the Dave 2D video in terms of performance. I'm not aware of any other video that has had like a large disparity. I'm aware of a lot of people talking about the Dave 2D video, but I'm not aware of any other video that's like, oh, there's a huge disparity between Windows and SteamOS. Was there any other video or any other like blog, let's say?
So I have the Windows version of the Lenovo Legion Go S.
Yeah.
I also have, I'm trying to find my benchmarks. I also have the Lenovo Legion Go S SteamOS edition, both the Z1 Extreme and the Z1 or Z2
Go. Yeah.
Go. Thank you. I could not remember the term. And I've been running benchmarks after I saw it, like, because when I made my video about it, I was like, I'm just going to see how this device performs. And I'm not really going to be bothering to compare it to other stuff because I didn't want my video to be too long, you know? So I have been spending all week, every free moment that I have, like just running benchmarks and stuff. And this is a video that's coming out later on the week, so I'm not going to completely spoil it. But for example, running Cyberpunk 2077, 800p Steam Deck preset with all frame generation and upscaling turned off. Okay. The Legion Go S Z1 Extreme Edition in SteamOS got 71.93 frames per second. The Lenovo Legion Go Z1E, where is this? I lost it. No, okay, so then there's the ROG. Shoot, no. I said the wrong thing. All right. The Legion Go S Z2 Go with 16 gigs of RAM with SteamOS was getting 62.5 frames per second. The same exact hardware running Windows, I got 35.7 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big amount, right? Am I wrong to say that that's a significant amount?
No, you're absolutely. So yes, it is a big difference, and you are going to find so God of War, Cyberpunk, and Elden Ring are three PC games that I'm well aware of that will outperform the Windows version, but considerably.
Every game I tested outperformed the Windows version.
Right. Yeah. So that's the other thing, is that which driver were you like? That's what. So it's not. The thing is, like, is this the user's problem? No. Is it Windows problem? So, like, which driver are you on? Did you
if you're asking which driver I'm on,
right?
I updated to the latest. That's all I know, is that I'm on the latest thing. Mm-hmm. But that's the problem right there, is the end user shouldn't be fighting with driver versions for a device that you go into Best Buy and pick up and you bring home. That should be something that the operating system should be able to figure out.
Yeah, so there's like so many things that are going on here, and I'm not going to discount Windows problem, because I do think it's a Windows problem ultimately. I don't think that this is I don't think this should be on like Lenovo, and I don't think it should be on AMD. I think it should be on like legitimately on Windows. AMD for the driver side, sure, but Windows should be like, this is what we need to install on here. You need these things, rather than having all this cruft, because Microsoft is ceding a lot of the responsibility and shirking it on, well, you have to go to AMD and you have to go to Lenovo for that. And Lenovo is doing a poor job, and AMD really only did a good job on Strix Point. And if you can take a look at a tweet that I put out, you can take a look at the graph on per watt, and on the official drivers, it's garbage. Like, absolutely, like after 15 watt, you start losing performance. So you push more power into it and performance goes down. It's that bad. So when you go to the latest drivers, all of a sudden it starts responding appropriately. So that is a gigantic problem. I am for sure everyone's initial problems with the Lenovo Legion Go S is because those OEM drivers that were there, because they're trash. That being said, even on the CPU side, Windows does a poor job managing those CPUs. Whereas SteamOS is using RadV driver, which is a Valve driver that is going to make those AMD GPUs better, and they're managing the CPU side better. And because of the benefit on Cyberpunk, you're basically seeing a well-optimized machine running Cyberpunk with that hardware versus crap on Windows. And it is, I would say, Windows' fault.
So certainly what we are referring to is Windows' fault, Microsoft's fault. I think what I am having trouble with is that like 1 month from now, this disparity won't exist, right? Because Windows will be updated like a 35 frame per second versus 62 frame per second disparity is not going to exist in 1 to 2 months from now when Windows, AMD, and all these folks get their shit together, right? That's the part that I'm having trouble with. Like, I think this is Windows' fault, and I think that they should address it. But I think that this notion that SteamOS inherently like doubles frame rate, which is not what you're saying, Bill, right?
No.
But I feel like that is what the discourse has turned into.
Yeah,
it has.
It is setting like just terrible expectations for the consumer, and it's not going to happen, right? Like it is a couple frame difference either way.
Yes.
Traditionally, when looking at portable hardware, right? Like SteamOS doesn't inherently make it faster. It does things like shader pre-compiled shaders, right?
Right, which is and other stuff,
right, which is really, really nice and really convenient and does improve the experience. So does Steam Input, so does GameScope. Right. All these things improve the experience. They don't inherently get you double the frame rate, right?
They don't. Although I will say that the Windows version of this has been out for 3 months at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, it's atrocious. Also, the price of it is like, how do you even possibly $730 and it's garbage? Like, this is like a non-starter. And even when you do fix all the stuff, it's like, okay, still put SteamOS on it. It's going to be a lot better. Like, there is no real winning situation here because there's just so much that has to get fixed. And like, I've been going through it and no one's going to do what the hell I'm doing. And all of this stuff is what Microsoft, like 100%, Dave 2D's video is accurate. Like, if you just run the thing and don't do anything, that is what you get. He's not lying. He's not like, this is like, hey, look at this. We're getting 3 hours here. I'm getting 6 hours in SteamOS. And I was just like, I don't like so this is me. It's almost semantics at this point, right? Is like, I hate when people say, oh, that's because of Windows bloat. And when I think of bloat, I think of fat, right? Like, oh, if it just lost weight, all of this would be a lot better. And no, it won't. You can run de-bloated versions of Windows 11 and still get the same exact garbage performance. It has zero to do with how heavy Windows 11 is and how all of the legacy crap of CPU-oriented design and all of the things that the industry has done to make reviewers' jobs harder in terms of reviewing stuff. Why in the world? I'm going to try to wrap this up. Why in the world do we have multiple power limit settings? Why?
You mean, so just so people are understanding what you are talking about, when you say multiple power limit settings, you mean when you're on Windows, you go in and you're like, you have your options to set it to, silent or performance or turbo, but then you also have the CPU limits lower down on the little Lenovo thing. That's what you're talking about, right?
I'm talking about, so yes, there's that problem. I'm talking about like Intel and AMD specific things that PL1 is your, AMD calls it slow, and PL2 is what AMD calls fast, and Intel just calls it PL2. So in PL1, you'll say, okay, this is 15 watt, but PL2, you can do 28 watt, and PL2 runs for 28 seconds. Who cares? Like, you're not playing a game 28 seconds at a time. So when you're playing a game, if you just run a bench and it goes 28 seconds, you have this fake data that is not going to happen for anybody because it's going to go back down to 15 watt for the longest period of time. So all of these things that were designed are essentially by Intel to say, to hell with power management, to hell with whatever you need to do for battery life, because we can fake battery life by going into PL1, but all the benchmarks that we're going to show when we're running Geekbench and all this other one, they're going to be tippity top. And it's all of these things to fake data that some reviewers have done, but some reviewers don't do. So you have all this like weird data that happens. So you look at EPP settings, you look at all these things that were designed to make the CPU part of it go as fast as possible all the time to ensure the best performance possible. They have like stupid stuff like, you look at heterogeneous cores, right? You have like P cores and E cores. They have things like HWP autonomous mode APP settings where it's enabled, which means like, oh, if this E core is running at 600 megahertz, all the other ones have to run at 600 megahertz for reasons why I don't know. It's just like the really dumb things to fake performance at the expense. And now we're paying for it. We're paying for all this cruft in the handheld space. Whereas on the Linux side of things, they were designed for multi-core things, and they were designed for like no one's really running performance tests on Linux, so they're just like, oh, these are the things that you need to do. And then ipso facto, you have Linux just like, oh yeah, here's 6 hours battery life. We just you only need like 1 gigahertz. We only need 500 megahertz. And on Windows, it's like pedal to the metal, baby, like 4 gigahertz. And that's a problem.
It's like you made a video where you were talking about Windows bloat, and you were like, you threw a command into a command line and immediately boosted your battery life to
6
a
hours.
really, really long time, which is great.
Yeah, no one's going to do that.
I don't think anybody should have to do that. No one should have to do that. That's ridiculous.
It is on Windows. It is 100%. But, and again, that is me just being pedantic with semantics, saying Windows bloat is not what you can't just say, oh, that's Windows bloat. It's not. There's a bigger discussion that needs to happen here, and it's like a lot of things that need to get refactored because it's out of control at this point.
Yeah. Returning, Bill, to your question, right? Like, I'm not going to dismiss out of hand that this bad press, like I said, there's probably 2 different camps at Microsoft, right? And this bad press probably gave the one camp the ammo they needed to be like, hey, I've been telling you this is what we should be doing. So like that's possible. I'm not going to dismiss that out of hand, but at the same time, we don't know, right? Like that's all speculation, and you can make a case for, switch to being a thing and somehow that leading to them focusing more on Windows for some reason or something like that. Right. So like, I don't want to like credit SteamOS here. But I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand either. I do want to go back to Kerry's, the points that he made. How influential was Kerry's video? I think it was extremely influential. So like, it's going to be weird to the people that like hear 30K views and like, oh yeah, how could it possibly, right? But we've joked about it before where it's like your favorite content creator's favorite content creator, right? Like, and like there are if you just go to like Resetera or whatever, there are so many people that are in content creation or journalists or things like that like view Kerry's channel and like view it as, I'm not going to say an authority, right? But like an authority on certain areas, right? And that alone,
there's channels like Linus Tech Tips, which has shouted Kerry out multiple times, not to make you feel uncomfortable, buddy.
And that spreads, right? So like Linus Tech Tips, like, spouting things that Kerry may have said, right? Like that is huge in terms of how that's going to spread. And so I also think Microsoft was not planning a handheld. I don't think they should. I think history has proven that Microsoft was not planning a handheld, even though the hardware was there for it. Even though everything Kerry said in his video was true, they seemed like they were taken by surprise in this whole endeavor, right? And so like, I almost think they were not planning a handheld, and that video kind of willed things into fruition. Not, completely, but enough, right? And so like, yeah, I think we see what is possible with, first, the GPD wins that we saw, then the INEOs, then Steam Deck, and now what we have today, which is just in abundance, right? And I think Kerry's content contributed to that to a degree, for sure.
I agree with that. I would also say that 3 years ago, when he posted that video, there were a lot more people who would have signed up for an Xbox handheld.
Mm.
And then in the past 3 years, where Microsoft has stepped on rake after rake after rake, the number of people who are interested in an Xbox handheld has probably decreased significantly. And then when you pair that with the advent of the PC handhelds, really, again, they're still a very, very small part of the market, but really kind of taking off. If you ask me, I don't think that they should make an Xbox handheld, but I do think that they should make an Xbox handheld. And what I mean by that is they should make a handheld, like the one that they're working on with Asus apparently, that is a PC handheld that is branded Xbox, but is just a PC with a good UI so that we don't have to type command line things in to get good battery life. And not be running Xbox OS, just run Windows, because that's where all of the freaking games are.
I don't know at this point, like it's been so long and I've gone back and forth so many times. I don't know if I agree with you or disagree with you. Like it is, I don't envy Microsoft's position right now where like they're in this in between where they can go all in on Windows and that being sort of the successor to Xbox, or also kind of supply this Xbox ecosystem that is its own operating system, sort of. I don't know. I don't envy their position. I think it's a challenge for them, and I'm curious to see where they land on all of this.
Yeah. The part that I think is like the big problem, and I have zero idea if this is actually the case, but it's one thing that I would just like kind of speculate, is licensing problems. Like, if it was possible for Microsoft to say, hey, all the Xbox games that you bought digitally, those work on Windows now, that would be awesome. Or all the Xbox 360 games that you had bought and purchased, now emulation is possible on the Windows PC side. You can just play them. I have no idea if Microsoft's even allowed to do that. Like in some type of fine print somewhere, it's for an Xbox console or whatever the hell it could possibly be. Is like all new things need to get drafted up? Is it just a bureaucracy nightmare to try to get that done? I think that's where the real problem for them kind of lies, because they have a split ecosystem insofar as, you know, where you buy things. And, you know, no one wants a split ecosystem. Like, no. I don't, like, it's one thing that I still don't understand to this day why Apple is like, oh, you bought a game on iOS? Well, that's not on macOS. You have to buy the game on macOS. And it's like,
that's
why?
A publisher thing.
Yeah, right. But I mean, like, Apple has the ability to say, well, go pound salt. We're going to say you buy it once and you can get it on all of our things. And I don't think that they want to do that. I don't think that they care to do that. And
no, because then they would lose 30%.
Right.
Like if I buy the iPhone version, then I go buy the iPad version. That's extra money for them.
Right. But it makes it so that it's just way more friction. And I think that for there to be an Xbox ecosystem and then an Xbox PC ecosystem, it kind of sucks. And people are navigating that because it's just a PC ecosystem. And they understand that. They go, okay, I bought the game on PC. But then you have these new things called Play Anywhere. And Xbox has a lot of Play Anywhere games where you actually own it on Xbox and on PC. And to bridge that gap of making all of the Xbox games Play Anywhere stuff, the 360 games coming on there. So until you can get to that point, and also like all the other cool features that are on Xbox, Quick Resume. Quick Resume is an awesome feature that I would love to have.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I'm getting to, is that I don't know how they can navigate that.
What if they put the publishers in a really shitty position and they said, you know what, moving forward, if you like, we're going to do backwards compatibility for all of our stuff because it's going to be emulated. But these publishers, we have to wait until they say it's okay. Once they say it's okay, then we'll make it so that your games will run. But right now, they're not going to work because these publishers haven't signed off yet. And when you talk about Microsoft, like they're pretty big, They like them saying that might put enough pressure on the publishers to make it so that all of your backwards compatible stuff that they promised you this generation, they said, hey, you know, your Xbox stuff is going to be compatible with this. Well, they didn't promise that for the next gen, but if they do promise it for the next gen, they could just say all of our stuff will be, if you want to get stuff from Square Enix that you bought through us, then you're going to have to talk to Square Enix because we can't do that legally.
This sort of like difficult problem stuff is always fascinating to me too,
Yeah.
right? Like, because these are really challenging problems, but not impossible problems. So like, if we think about like what, do they go by CD Projekt Red for GOG? What's the company name for GOG?
Just I think it's just CD Projekt.
Okay, CD Projekt, right? If we think about what CD Projekt has been able to do with wrangling licenses and stuff like that,
Right.
like easily Microsoft could be doing that if they wanted to, right? Like Microsoft,
that's one of their mightiest things that they do.
right? As far as backwards compatibility goes now, right? Like even that in terms of Xbox. So certainly they can do that for Windows too. They can be wheeling and dealing, and it may never be perfect. It may never be every single game, but they certainly have the capacity and the power to do that. So like, it is a difficult problem, but not an impossible problem. So I would love to see them tackle that. One more thing is like online multiplayer. Like I know a lot of people have sort of gone back and forth like, oh, we can't see Xbox just become Windows because then what are they going to do with online multiplayer? Because they charge for it on Xbox. I don't think they'd have a problem like dropping that particular stream of revenue with the idea that like they're signing more people onto Game Pass, signing more people onto.
I agree.
They already did that for free-to-play games. You don't have to pay for Xbox Live to
and those are the biggest games.
Yeah, so you don't need a subscription to play multiplayer for free-to-play.
Same with PlayStation and Nintendo. They don't like you can play free-to-play games online without paying for their service.
The one thing that I would want to say that kind of suggests that they have already done some of the paperwork is that ostensibly the cloud is a Series S or a Series X, and that is getting bifurcated by just super large GPUs, right? They're just saying, okay, we have this super large GPU, but we're only going to use the X amount of CUs and CPU time and memory. So they have like one server blade that is multiple Series S's, right? Ostensibly, that is running Microsoft Server that is virtualizing all that because they already do that for Xbox OS. It's a hypervisor that runs in these containers. And if the idea is, because I don't know if you guys have saw, but like Xbox xCloud, they have started to allow games that you have purchased that are not on the Game Pass wheelhouse. Yeah. But if you bought it and you have Game Pass, you can then do the cloud streaming for that particular game, which suggests that if you have the Xbox version of the game, but behind the scenes, it's actually running on Windows Server that is becoming a Series S.
Yeah.
So is that an avenue that Microsoft can go to where this becomes a thing? It's like, all the Xbox One and Xbox Series games that you bought, you still play them. They actually just run as, there's a hypervisor that's running on this thing, and we just open them up, and you have the same Xbox Cloud UI, where it has like that truncated Xbox menu. That's what you have. That would be interesting if that happens. So we have to wait and see what comes of that.
Well, we've talked about, we've mentioned Apple a couple times. This is not even in the show notes, but I just remembered that people were talking about, I guess WWDC is this week, and Apple is apparently going to be unveiling their new app to collect all of your games in. So essentially you will be able to launch this app, and it will be a launcher for games. I would guess that what would happen is as soon as you open this up, your phone or iPad or maybe your Mac would like do a few setting switches that would optimize for gaming, maybe switch over to a higher refresh rate or something like that. And there was a bunch of people who were saying, whoa, Apple's trying to stick it to Nintendo by announcing this at the same time. No, they announce stuff at WWDC every year. It stopped trying to make it an us versus them nonsense. But that's beside the point. Of everybody on the panel, I'm the Mac guy. I'm the Apple guy. I could not care less about this because Apple has shown over and over again that they're untrustworthy when it comes to video games. Every time that they say, we're taking video games seriously. No, they're not. And even if they were, I don't want to buy my games through the App Store. I want to buy my games through Steam. And the stuff that's on Steam does not run like there is no Proton for Mac right now. There is, but there isn't because it's not anywhere near close to what Proton is. And I see people talking about, well, Apple will just work with Valve to make Proton work on Mac. No, they won't, because they want the games to be sold through their store. That's just ridiculous.
I think it also,
anyway,
it's confusing what makes Proton so good, right? To think that like it's Valve only that has made this so good, that if Valve were to work on a Proton for Apple, it would automatically just be a great translator. But the problem is that with Proton, it's still x86, right? The problem is just you're translating API calls, right? Whereas x86 to ARM, you're translating an entire instruction set. And this is soapbox time. This is why I get like a little I don't know if annoyed's the word, at like translation is not emulation, right? Because the emulation is a spectrum, and this is an example where emulation or translating instruction sets is going to be a lot more difficult than translating API calls. And those two things are just on different, regardless of whether you call it emulation, translation, those two things are on different levels, and you're going to lose more on translating instruction sets than API calls.
The easiest way that I've been able to communicate to people the difference is that we talk about like emulation where you do an instruction set differences. You literally have someone that's coming in speaking Italian and going, hold on, let me make this English. And for translation, what you have is someone from the South coming and going, hey, y'all, can you go? And it's just an accent. And they're just like, oh, yeah, okay, I can hear you. I don't have to write this down and translate. Yeah, no problem. Let me go ahead and do that. And that's really what it really comes down to, is like it's an accent difference versus a whole different language. Like you have to soup to nuts fully understand what they're saying, and then how they're rearranging words, and how that's whole, like it's a whole big different thing between understanding Italian versus understanding a Southern dialect.
Say Mario.
But yeah, you understood. You didn't need to write it.
I still knew what he meant. Still knew what he meant.
Exactly. And that's translation. Yeah. That's Proton for you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't see whatever Apple does at WWDC having any real impact on the game space. I would be so happy to be wrong, because I'm sitting here, we're recording this, I'm sitting here on my M3 Mac, and good Lord, this thing is so freaking powerful.
It is great.
It is really, really, it's a ridiculously fast machine. I can throw multiple 4K streams at it when I'm editing, and I see no slowdown at all. And this is stuff where I'm color correcting and throwing LUTs on top of that. It's a very performant machine, but zero games are made for it. It's like Capcom put out like the Resident Evil games, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I've already played those. I don't want those again.
It is genuine. Well, so there's multiple things that are frustrating for me, is that Apple Silicon, and I'm not an Apple fanboy, you guys know that, but I will sing the praises of Apple Silicon. Those guys just engineered the hell out of it, and no one stopped them. And it's just, in 2020, when the M1 came out, it was untouchable for what it was doing inside of its power scope. Completely untouchable. So it's frustrating for two different reasons. People look at Apple Silicon and go, wow, ARM is so good. And I'm like, hold on, that's not ARM, that's Apple. ARM CPUs, while they may be very good, are not Apple Silicon. So to make them say that, ipso facto, both of those are the same thing, it isn't. Apple does a tremendous amount of stuff to make them so performant. And then on the other side of the coin is, the whole thing of whatever baggage Steve Jobs had and how that went through. I had made a tweet about it saying, if Apple actually cared about having gaming as a part of its brand identity, everyone would be actually in trouble. Everyone. Genuinely, Nintendo is afraid. I believe Nintendo, to my core, they're not afraid of Microsoft. They're not afraid of Sony. They're afraid of Apple. And if you look at who did Nintendo make games for? Did they make it for Microsoft? Did they make it for Sony? They made it for Apple. I mean, they have it on Android as well, but that like mobile is like a thing that they were like, oh crap, we see how many people are using this, and this is something that we have to go to. And I feel like they genuinely feel that if Apple actually got into this thing where they made it a part of their brand identity, like they were going actually hardcore doing all the things, you buy on iOS, okay, you have it on Mac OS as well. No, we're going to get rid of like legitimately become capital G gamers, which they do not want to do. And Hardware Canucks replied to me, they're like, no, that's an outdated thing. We're playing Civ 7 on this. And I'm like, all right, like, I mean, that's like the old joke, right? Like you were playing Warcraft on it. So I came out with a poll. I said, of the four things, what is Apple known for? And it was like simplicity, design, gaming, and one other thing that I forget. But gaming was like 1%, and I'm pretty sure people just trolling on that. Everything else was just filled out. And that goes along with what you were saying, Bill. Like you have no trust in them doing anything with gaming at all because of all the things that they have done. Go back to the WWDC from like 2010 or 2011 when Steam actually came to Mac. They spent 15 seconds saying, hey, guess what? Steam is on Mac. Anyway, let's talk about this other app for 2 minutes. And it's like, jeepers creepers, guys. Like, that's huge news. And you just kind of breezed over it and went to this singular app that I don't even remember what it was. And
well, that's because they don't care if Steam, they don't want Steam.
Sure.
Because they can't get a cut.
I totally get it. But it's also even for the only games that sell well on iPhone are games that masquerade as gambling apps. And that's it. Like it's all things that are in-app purchases, just slot machines and other stuff. Those are the things that make buku bucks. And that's what everyone else is racing for to get to on iPhone. It's not to make good games. It's to make money games that extract money from people. And that's two different things. And I think it's why a lot of people, when you say, well, mobile games aren't real games, there is a kernel of truth to that because there are differences in what they're trying to accomplish. One is a psychological game trying to extract money out of you, and the other has been going to there, and there's lots of stupid stuff that they've been doing. One of the things on our show notes that we're talking about is like how they're just slowly putting ads and other stuff into like, you're just like, I'm going to play Call of Duty. It's like, how about some ads? How about a little banner down here? Like, no, stop that. I hate, launching a game and it's like, well, here's a banner. Here's all of our other games. It's like, stop. I want to play just this one. Can you, the TTG thing, right? Like, how do we get back to time to game as minimal as possible? So it's like all of those things. So I don't know. I also don't see this being a big deal. So who knows what happens, but I don't think most people are going to care about. Oh, I mean, Apple Arcade. What the hell is Apple Arcade now with Apple's new game? I have no idea. Is Apple Arcade just getting renamed to whatever this thing is?
I think Apple Arcade is their subscription thing, and then this is going to be something else. But we'll find out this week, I suppose. But this week is also stacked because we also have the Switch 2 coming out on the 5th. Gentlemen, check your emails. I got charged this morning. Did you guys get... Well, I know you haven't ordered one, Rich, right?
Correct. Yeah, I wasn't able to order one. So we'll see if I can snag one day one. But yeah, we'll see.
I got it on GameStop. I got one on Best Buy and I got two at GameStop. But this is for myself and my son, so that it's going to be ostensibly like one of the last midnight launches for a console that we're going to be able to get. So it's like an experience that I just want my son to have. And ultimately, I don't think he cares, but it's more like me caring. Like, no, this happened before. Real quick digression here. My son was like real young. We were in 7-Eleven. And I was like, hey, bud, you want a Choco Taco? And he said, what is it? And I was like, well, it's like a graham cracker with ice cream and chocolate inside. He's like, nah. Then they just got rid of them completely, wholesale. You can't get them anymore. He's like, oh, Dad, can we get a Choco Taco? I'm like, buddy, they're gone. And he's like, oh, I wish I got it back then. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to get him there. So later on, he's like, oh, yeah, I did experience a midnight launch. I know what that was like. I'm glad we did that. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish here.
That's awesome.
So they are now sending out those that you got charged, and I got charged. I haven't checked with my wife because we ordered multiple ones as well to see if she got charged for it. But fingers crossed. I'm very much looking forward to hands-on time with it. I'm looking at the calendar right now. Today it comes out on the 5th, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Well,
so that's Thursday. Oh man. Okay, so next week's episode was probably going to be late because I'm going to be making a video on Friday and won't have time to record that day. But we'll see what happens. One thing that people have noticed is that like they've been releasing the Switch compatibility lists of the games that are coming to Switch 2, and apps like Hulu, where you watch videos and stuff, they are not going to be coming to Switch 2, even though they're already on Switch 1, and they won't be compatible. I have a theory as to why. And I don't think it's because these apps don't want to be on that system, because I think that, there's people who hook up look, do we really need a game console so that we can watch Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever? No, not really. All of our TVs have, I'm going to use quotes because I hate it, smart features. Most of those smart features are hot garbage. They're slow. I have an Apple TV. I like that much better. It's much faster and snappier, even though it's got the worst remote that's ever been invented on the planet. And I came from the days when I had a Betamax player, and it had the remote control was literally a wire that went to a device that you had a wire dragged across your house. That thing is awful. That said, I think that some people would like to be able to watch on their Switch 2. So why isn't Nintendo letting them do that?
Security?
I think that the companies don't, because of the chat button, because you can stream what's on your screen. And I bet that because you didn't ever have to worry about that before on the Nintendo Switch, they didn't build in like a
DRM.
Yes, DRM, but there's a specific one.
DHCP.
Yes, DHCP. Thank you. They probably didn't build in DHCP to that apps, and so they can't be put on the Switch 2, because then I could be watching Netflix and Rich could be playing a game and he could be watching Netflix at 15 frames per second down on the bottom of his screen.
Couldn't they just disable it for when that app is launched?
Disable
Streaming.
I would think so.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm betting that these apps will come later, but they're going to wait until they've been updated.
There's a part of me that thinks that they don't have the apps on there, especially not day one, because it's a security vector. And how often they get updated is, I think, the ultimate fear for me. I feel like you can just say no streaming on this app. You press the stream button and it's just like, boop, this is not possible in this app. I see like saying it's not possible on a specific app, like having a blacklist for streaming seems like it's far easier to do. And I think for me, especially because the Switch 1 just got like uber cracked, real bad, like real hard. It was like something that they couldn't patch, and it's a thorn on their side nonstop. Typically, it's going to be some time before the Switch 2 gets hacked. And when it does get hacked, there's going to be a back and forth and whatnot. For me, I think it's a security thing. I can believe what you're saying, Bill, like, especially like day one, maybe they don't have a blacklist. Maybe they didn't think of it, right? Like, oh crap, like we can't have them stream to other people that aren't subscribers. I could see that. I could see that. I just don't believe that. Maybe it is. Maybe it is just that simple. It could be
When
just
you
that
say
simple.
when you say you think it might be a security thing, what's the security thing? I connect to Hulu and I want to watch.
Well, let's say like,
Something.
you're on your Wi-Fi and you can change your local DNS, and your DNS says, no, you don't go to Hulu, you go to this system. And then this system starts shoving some stuff, some packets in it. And all of a sudden Hulu does a buffer overrun. And now Bob's your uncle, you have Switch 2 access, like your root. And you're like, let me just go in here and do whatever I please. And especially with how often Hulu and all these things update, it's a harder security problem, right? It's like, like whatever update they did could have opened up a hole, and it's like a constantly moving thing. So I don't know. I tend to think it's a security thing first, but who knows? I would not fully dismiss what you're saying, Bill. I think that is a valid thing, at least initially. If that didn't have a blacklist, like, like, whoa, Disney Plus and everything, it's streaming to a whole bunch of different. I don't see it because it's like, hey, Joey, can you start streaming your thing? I don't want to pay Apple TV. Can you just start streaming on your Switch too, so I can
Let's watch For All Mankind at 10 frames per second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It's I don't particularly see that, but maybe.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Rich?
This is a tough one, but I'm also like, kind of what you were saying earlier, where like everyone has something to watch on these days. Like this is something where, I do expect it to come later on, but also if it doesn't, I don't think that it's something that Nintendo has to offer or Hulu has to offer. Like if it never comes, it's not a huge deal to me. And I don't think that it's going to be a huge deal to most folks. So both of those theories sound plausible. So I'll say either one of them could be possible. But I don't think that this impacts too many people, I would think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say that like everybody has something that they can stream on, because that seems like maybe I'm just being out of touch, but I have, like, I was just counting, I have at least 8 screens near me. You know, I know that my use case is ridiculous, but everybody has plenty of screens to stream on. Or am I out of touch?
No. I mean, like, even look at like Switch One chat, right? You had to have a phone. It's like, load this up on your phone to chat with people. I was like, what? Like, that's inconvenient.
Yeah.
So,
and like, if you have a Switch 2, you can buy a $50 Roku, right? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Hey, chances are you have a phone that can have Hulu on it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really care one way or the other myself. So I don't think many people care, especially with how ubiquitous a bunch of stuff would do. It is curious. Maybe it is just a super simple thing. I don't know. I feel in my head, like the hackers of the world, when it comes to consoles, the precedence for like most hacky thing, especially emulation, Nintendo is like so far up on that list. And then way down is anything Sony does. And then way down is anything Microsoft does. It's like no one cared to, I mean, hacking like a 360 was big, but like no one hacked an Xbox One. And when they had a developer mode, it seemed like there was like 0 hacks for Xbox One at all.
You talked about all the reasons why that is the case last week. I'm also going to say, in terms of availability, right? It's the inverse, right? Like Xbox games are available literally everywhere now. Right. Sony games are available on PC on a limited basis. So like, it's a little more like, I'm more interested in, let's say Bloodborne, right? Like I'm going to need to emulate to get Bloodborne.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then Switch, all you could do is play on a Nintendo console. So that's those are your options.
I just feel like it's always a big thing for them. And, Switch 2 is going to sell bonanzas. I think it's going to, do as good as a Switch 1. I don't know if it'll do better than a Switch 1, but I fully anticipate the Switch 2 selling like hotcakes. And that's a big target.
Yeah.
Rich, what do you think about the pace for the Switch 1? Let's make predictions for the year. Do you think that the Switch 2 will outsell Switch 1 in year 1?
I've been wrong about this the whole way, right? Like PS5, I thought would certainly sell less than PS4. And I still feel the same way about Switch 2. I don't think Switch 2 will sell as well as Switch 1 did, even in the first year, which I think you could probably argue. I mean, I don't have the numbers offhand, but I would imagine that, it picked up steam, right? So I don't imagine that year 1 was the biggest year for Nintendo. So I think probably the biggest factor is how well prepared they are for this launch. If they're really well prepared, then they'll probably sell well. They have a lot of momentum going in. But still, if push came to shove, I would predict that Switch 2 year 1 sells yet less than Switch 1 year 1.
I just looked it up real quick, and it was 15.5 million. At least what I looked up, at least what Google served me.
So AI bullshit.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So take it with a grain of salt.
Yes.
We always have to point out that Google's results are AI bullshit. That's a rule for the show.
Yeah. It could be anything. So that's what it said. But and there was I kept on like, where am I hearing this 20 million unit from for Switch 2? It's the forecast from Nintendo themselves. And that's why when they said that they had 2 million for Japan, that's 10% of what they were planning. So they're planning on selling 20 million. 10% was allocated to Japan, which has been sold out like crazy there. So their initial numbers are like way low that they're going to have to fulfill. But at the moment, it looks like it's going to exceed Switch 1 sales, at least in the first year. So
I fully anticipate that it will.
Yeah.
I like when you look at the Switch 1, it came in the fact that it didn't fall on its face and fail is completely on the software release cadence for that first year, because at launch I think there were 7 games. Most of them were not very notable. Zelda was the one thing that was there, but every single month of that first year, Nintendo had a big tentpole release, and that just really built upon like the idea, because when the Switch 1 launched, 7 games, there was no backwards compatibility. Right. You couldn't take any of the Wii games or Wii U games and play those on the Switch.
Even the virtual console games you bought.
Right. And it was coming off Nintendo's biggest flop ever, I think. Well, I mean, maybe not worse than the Virtual Boy,
right.
but I mean, as far as like mainstream consoles, it was like their biggest flop ever. People were ready to write Nintendo off. And I think probably at first, I think those 14, 15 million that they sold in the first year, I think a lot of those were the second half of the year, because the first half of the year, people were like, there's nothing to play.
I think that's
this time around, you have it's launching with Mario Kart, their best-selling game, and you can also play all of the old Switch games on it for the most part.
Yeah, there's a few things there. Number one was the hilarious attach rate for Breath of the Wild. The attach
over 100.
rate. Yeah, it was like 108%, which means that people were buying it and didn't even own a Switch. So that's how good Breath of the Wild sold. It was better than could conceivably be possible.
And that game was available on the Wii U.
Yeah, it was available
on Wii U. So
yeah, exactly. Everyone basically was like, "Well, screw that! I'm going to get this on Switch." So that was a huge game for me. I think Breath of the Wild is this is just me speaking as like my own personal tastes. Mario Kart is a huge game. There is no doubt it's a enormous game. I think it's a fantastic launch game. But for me, to not have Metroid Prime 4 on launch as well feels like a gigantic miss, especially with how how long they've been forecasting this game. And the Donkey Kong game being on launch is good. But I feel like it's in the same ranking as Metroid Prime 4 in terms of their like tiers of like importance. I don't think it's a bad launch, but I think for me specifically, it doesn't have the hardcore gamer, and maybe it doesn't need it, right? Well, obviously it doesn't, because the pre-orders have sold out for Switch 2, so obviously it doesn't. I will say that and this is one of the reasons why I think an Xbox handheld makes a lot of sense, and something that I've talked about before, is that a Switch is a personal device. It is not you buy one that goes in the living room that the family plays. A Switch is you get this for this person, and a Switch is you get that for that person. So a Switch console sales have the bundled in idea that if you have a family of 2 or 3, you're buying 2 or 3 Switch 2s. Yeah. You're not buying just one. And I think that's really where handhelds make the difference, where hardware sales just really almost, I don't want to say double, but they are more than just 1x. There's, 1 point whatever for per family. So I think that's what, it just also the convenience that handhelds provide. So I think I'm going to agree with Bill. I think that they're going to do more than 20 million. Like the 20 million is going to sell out, and they're going to get more in. So I think they're going to do more than 20 million. Their initial forecast.
Okay. I'm going to ask you guys a question. I don't want you to look it up. Hopefully you don't already know. What do you think is, how many copies of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe do you think that they sold? Keep in mind that Mario Kart 8 was also on the Wii U, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was basically just a re-release of the same game that they
Switch
already
only, right?
had.
Switch
yes, only on Switch, not on the Wii U. I mean, you could mention the Wii U if you want, but it's like 5 people.
I'm going to say somewhere over 10%. So I'm going to say like 18 million copies.
Okay. What about you, Rich? How many copies do you think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold?
I have a wild number in my head. I'm not going to go with that number. Let's say 35. 35 million.
Okay.
Is that way off?
Yes, you are both incredibly way off. It is 67 million.
See, okay, so my number was the wild number I had in mind was 80, and after Carrie said like 18, I was like, it can't be 80, and it is an 80, but 67 is closer to 80 than it is to 35.
It's like 40% of
it's a 40% attach rate.
So that makes sense in a lot of ways. Because if, I do think that there's a lot of game sharing that was going on. Like a parent would have like one account and they would just like load that one account on multiple switches, and then people would play it that way, which now they're getting, they're like virtual game cards. We got you. So it's probably going to sell even better. But I mean, it's a launch title for it, right? So it's
with the bundle. Yeah, it's gonna
be huge.
It makes sense. Like I get it. Like sales numbers alone for Mario Kart 8 are tremendous. It's a great game, right? It has its gamer side of it, whereas the hardcore segment of it, and then there's obviously the casual segment of it that is endearing. So makes sense.
I think if Nintendo had their way, just going back to what you said, Kerry, I think they would have, liked to have had Metroid Prime 4 either at launch or very close to it, even alongside Mario Kart World. And they would have even, had DK Bonanza kind of come in a little later, maybe even closer to the holiday season, right? But I think, I think that development has been troubled a bit. So I think that's getting in the way of that. Yeah.
Yeah. They reset somewhere years ago. 100% that happened. But I don't know. I just feel like that's a bit of a miss. Honestly, the game so I bought the Welcome Tour stupid thing.
On purpose?
So I had a Best Buy gift certificate that was expiring, and it was $10. And I was like, what am I going to get? And I also bought the Shinin racing game because Shinin does great stuff.
Is that the one that's fast art? Like it's fast, whatever?
Yeah.
Is the name of it?
It's like almost like Wipeout, futuristic racer, but it's like crazy graphics. Shinin does like, they min-max like crazy. So it's more like just like, wow, look at how impressive this is. And it was like $15. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick that up. And then I had a $10 Best Buy certificate, and I already bought Cyberpunk and I already bought Bonanza. So it's like, what else am I going to get? And I'm looking and I'm like, I don't want to pay $50. Like I'm going to take $10 off a game and I'm going to pay $50. And, say $70 games, I'm going to pay $60. Like I saw Welcome Tour. I was like, well, screw it. Here you go. Have a tip, Nintendo.
Have a tip.
You are part of the problem.
I mean, I just, for sure. I mean, I'm already part of the problem, right? Like I own, like I talk a lot of crap on Nintendo, and then there's like Super Nintendo fans that don't talk crap, but I'm a better Nintendo customer than they are, like by a long shot. So I have that. They could always talk crap, but I buy a lot of Nintendo crap.
I'm part of the problem too. I buy Nintendo stuff. I didn't buy that game, and I'm not going to buy that game because it's just not interesting to me. Even like I thought about, well, I'll make a video, but no, there's going to be other people that can make a video about that faster, and it's just not all that interesting. So anyway, Rich, why don't you pick a story that's left from our show notes and we will discuss, sir.
Okay. Should we go with, I like the prototype. Is it, if it's even called that, the concept art for slide devices, it's spin devices.
Spin devices. I saw this and thought of Carrie. Carrie, have you seen this?
Is it like the
click it?
Is it like the It was I own both of them. I own the first one and the second one, and the name is escaping me.
The N-Gage? I don't know what you mean.
No, it was Sidekick.
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah,
click on it. You'll know
Sidekick.
exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, this is like the Sidekick. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a handheld concept art, right?
Right.
Where the screen is you can spin it to be portrait instead of landscape, and I guess the idea would be to play DS and 3DS games and things like that. Also, there are some vertical games that play well on a controller, like Downwell. That would be pretty cool on something like this. I think the tough thing for me, the design is super slick, and I would buy this in a hot second easily. So don't take that out of context. But the tough part for me is that, like, man, as many devices as we've had that even emulate DS decently well, none of them are better than just a unlocked DS. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and like, that is very easy to do.
Exactly.
You trip over yourself. Whoops.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I mean, awesome. I would get it, and I would probably put DS games on it, but it's crazy to me that DS itself has not yet been undone. The like Game Boy Advance, like we have so many Game Boy Advance of every type, whether you want the micro, the flip, or the SP rather, or the original. All they're bringing up the handhelds. So we have so many GBAs, and some of them easily have outdone their original, but DS, I don't think we're close to seeing that at this point.
Right. So the only thing that I would comment is that I don't know if you guys ever had an Atari Lynx or were aware of the Atari Lynx.
I've used one. One of my friends when I was in high school had an Atari Lynx.
So the Atari Lynx had games that could be both ways, and you would play the Atari Lynx generally landscape, but you could just play it like this, and your hand would be up here to control, and then so you're just
like it had mirrored controls on both sides.
It did, yeah. So you could flip it any way that you wanted. And Gauntlet, I think, was like that. And there was a few other games that were portrait style. I don't know that I necessarily need a screen to flip, because on especially the retro handhelds, they already have like some ones that have vertical orientation that kind of already maps things this way.
I've even done that for like just Steam Deck, right? Like Steam Deck, and certainly the Lenovo Legion Go, where you can just take off the tablet, you can stand it up. Right. So like playing like vertical games, not Downwell in this case, but well, actually, I think your pinball game, Bill, you can do that with what's not Pinball Spire, but the one before that, Devil's something.
Demon's Tilt, yes, and then there's Xeno Tilt as well, which are both fantastic.
I believe you can play those in vertical mode, but also just shooters, right? Like shmups, you can play in vertical mode, and those are fun as hell to play. So
right, yeah. In those things, there's a real charm, with playing shmups in their vertical orientation that that gets immensely lost when you have gigantic pillar boxing going on. I do have a soft spot, even on these retro handhelds. When you do it in the vertical alignment, it just feels right. It feels correct, even when the control style is not ideal. I do agree with you. It is weird. Like you can see, like, oh, this would be better for DS stuff because you can just layer them on top of each other like that as well. I don't know if this. I mean, there's so many different ones. So at this point, by all means, if you want to make a sliding majig swivel. Cool. I think that's neat. Yeah, I mean, they haven't done it yet, right? And there's been a bazillion different retro handhelds, so
certainly on it. They'll make one tomorrow.
Dude, Ambernick is like right back on the case. They have a pro model, and then they also have that slide out one that's coming soon. So, I think it's cool. I wouldn't, to each their own. And certainly with so many variations that are on the market at this point, go nuts. I'm if it was like, at the point of like, oh, there's no other handheld on the market, why would you want this crazy design? We are spoiled for choice. So by all means, go nuts. If it makes you happy, I'm glad you're happy.
Yeah.
One of the limitations of the original Switch was that you had to slide the things from the top to the bottom. I think Nintendo could easily release a device that would use, because the Joy-Cons are magnetic now, that would snap in on the bottom, and then you could have your controls for your Switch on either side in, what's it called? Tate mode or Tate mode?
Yeah.
Tate mode.
Yep.
You could play in Tate mode, and then they could, probably throw another tier on. I'm sorry, I'm giving them ideas. Throw another tier on Nintendo Switch Classics, which I think they changed the name to that.
Yeah.
And then we could play those DS or 3DS games.
Right. Yeah. It makes
on
a lot
the
of
Switch.
sense.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned it a couple times on this podcast. I genuinely thought they were going in that direction for Switch 2, that it would be that would be the gimmick, right? Like the small gimmick is that you can do it both vertical and horizontal. And yeah, I mean, like DS and 3DS would be no brainers.
It does seem a little bit odd to me that we did not get the whole emulate Wii U thing with a dock that you can just stream to. Yeah. I don't think that's like completely outside of the wheelhouse of being possible. And the only thing that they wound up doing was just leaning on NVIDIA crap. That was just like, hey, we have NVIDIA broadcast. You want to put it on the Switch too? It's like, well, what can you do? Well, we can like, do an auto green screen, and we can auto do mic stuff. So it only picks up the person. You don't hear all the noise. And like, okay,
great.
That's going to sound so bad.
We'll do that.
Fantastic, guys.
Yeah. Like, all right, that's what you guys did. NVIDIA just gave you more of their crap. And that, for what it's worth, NVIDIA broadcast is really cool and awesome. Like, I've used it and I think it's great. But to have that as like a full-on feature of your system is whatever. Okay. Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Carrie, are you ever going to use chat?
No, Nintendo stuff is not my actual place. I will say though, there is a reality where I could see my nephew doing it, because no joke, he's playing on his iPad all the time with Roblox, and he has like FaceTimes going with like multiple friends. Yeah. And he's like playing like, three hands, moving all over. It looks insanely unergonomic and not intuitive, but he's doing it and he's playing, and they're playing different Roblox games. So I could see it. I could see kids loving the idea, but then, now they got to sell that camera. And then if they sell the camera is like attached to the living room. And I don't know that they're going to want to be specifically in a certain place to do it. I think not having a camera on the device itself is probably a miss, because that doesn't align. But then again, these kids, I think if you just do the game streaming and you could have the mic work, is there a mic on the Switch too?
Yeah, there is. I'm sure you're going to yell at it. You're going to like tell your dog to sit or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you'll be blowing on the controller and
right. Yeah. So as long as there's a mic, I think that's all that actually is necessary. Because I think for most of the kids, they just want to be talking to their friends instead of actually having like the whole green screen thing. At least insofar as what I've seen my nephew, like it's no different than Xbox Live, but like they're doing it through all iOS features. So FaceTime and just playing. Right. Yeah. So I honestly, I'm not going to do it though, but for the kids, sure.
I think that a lot of kids will, and not just kids, but I do think that there's a lot of people that will use that feature in order to play games with their friends in a remote scenario. And I also agree that not having a camera built into the device is a mistake, especially because the dock doesn't cover it up. But it has a USB port on the top. And even if Nintendo doesn't make a camera that just plugs into that USB-C port on the top, somebody else is going to. And like it already works with third-party cameras. So somebody's going to have like a Logitech 720 or whatever, and it'll just have a dongle. Like it'll just be a USB thing that goes right in, and then you're all set. Yeah. But then you can't adjust it vertically.
Yeah, I think, but who cares, right? Like, because if you can just have like a little one that can kind of be kind of flush with the thing and just kind of pokes out, I still think that's kind of lame, but I don't know. Whatever. I guess every little bit that they're saving on the bill of materials costs is necessary, but.
Rich, let me ask you a question.
Go for it.
Did you think Carrie was going to respond differently to that slidey, flippy system? Because I thought he was going to love that.
Yeah, you know what? I was too obsessed with I was really excited about it. I didn't even think about Carrie. But, with the like phone thing, like I definitely got shades of that, right? Like the phone controller. But, that's Carrie's passion, is the phone controller. He needs that. So
I don't know why it's such a foreign concept when you have a bazillion different phones. Like, it's like me saying, like, I don't think that this device is for me, but there's like so many different choices that sure, just make it. I don't know why a game phone is such like a foreign concept to like not want it. And I think that, I'm going to go and talk to the moment that I can talk to someone, because I've been pressuring Asus about pressuring. I just talk to them about it all the time. It's like, you guys should make a gaming phone. When I talk to some Xbox people, I'm like, you guys should make an Xbox phone. Just team up with Asus like you did with a PC gaming handheld. Like, you have xCloud. Why? xCloud is like one of the perfect opportunities to use it when you're out. You have a device that has a 4G, 5G connection, play the game, the save transfers, then you go home and you play on console, you play on PC, that save file moves over. I don't know. Seems like it's like an easy concept, but it's just a marketing problem, right?
They tried a phone and everybody told them that their phones were stupid.
Who tried? Oh, no, you're talking about Microsoft Windows Phone, right?
Yeah, you said Microsoft should make a phone.
Yeah, no, but they've conceded that they just do Android stuff now. So like all of their apps are on Android. So no, they just make an Android phone. Just make an Android phone.
I know, because when I was doing my freaking benchmarks, I did the ROG Ally on Bazite, right? Or LIX, I mean. And then I pulled out my old, I was thinking, oh, well, I've got my SSD that has Windows. I'll just put that in and I can do my Windows ones. And I put that in. No, that had Bazite on it too. So then I had to install Windows, which took hours and hours and hours of downloading and redoing updates and everything like that. And I remember every time, like, it was like, do you want to set up your phone on this? Here's a little QR code. And I'm like, get out of here. I don't want you. All right. Carrie?
Real quick, Bill.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you first install Bazite, right? Like for the first time, because it's all new, it takes a while, right? Like to figure out, oh, I've got to do this partition here. And
yeah, I had to like read things.
Right. So like, but now that you've done it several times and you're talking about like how long it takes Windows to install, which one is faster? Bazite, just the installation process, Bazite or Windows?
I think I've only installed Bazite like 4 times. Once when it first came out, and that one was when it was the most buggy. So that one did take longer.
Yeah.
And then I also did it on my ROG Nook, which then I ended up going back to Windows to afterwards because it just has NVIDIA hardware. And then I installed it one more time on my ROG LIX when I got the 4 terabyte SSD. So I will say that the Windows one is the most annoying, I think, because it's constantly like, do you want to sign up for Live 365? Do you want to sign up for this? Do you want to pair your phone with this? Do you want us to install the game bar? Do you want us to do? And I was just like just get the out of my way.
Yeah.
Just it was slowing me down.
To know.
Right. And they know what they're freaking doing too, because when you're pushing that button, they keep moving it left or right. It's like, are you sure you don't want it? Yes, I'm sure. Oh, shoot. It just, no, I hit the button that sent me back one.
Yeah, triple negatives. Are you sure you do not want to not do this? Like,
right. So annoying. Carrie, why don't you pick a story for us to talk about?
You know, out of all those, I think I'd like to talk about Night Rain concurrent user count numbers. Only because we saw it at PAX East. And the commentators did a good job, like, selling me on the idea of it. And I feel like there is a interesting juxtaposition of typically From Software games being decidedly single player, besides the point you can do raids and stuff. Like, that's the add-on component of this, and Night Rain is very much a multiplayer game that they have single player parts of it on there. I don't know. I find it interesting that it has done as well as it has, because I feel like the player base maybe didn't know what they were getting into, but that seems odd to me. I don't think that they would. So it's really interesting to see that it's sold so well, despite the fact that what I hear, like what I'm seeing on my timeline and stuff, is even like reviews for it were mixed, right? Like the initial reviews that came out for the game were mixed. So I think like it reviewed badly for the general people that pick these games up. And despite the fact that there's vocal people not liking the game, it's doing gangbusters. So there's like weird stuff.
I don't think people are not liking it. I think people like it and they're pissed because it doesn't have features that they thought it should have. It doesn't have crossplay, which I think is a ridiculous oversight, because my son bought it on PS5 And so now if I want to play with him, I have to buy it on PS5. And I was planning to buy it on PC because then I would always be able to, upgrade and get it to look better over time. But now I'm stuck. I'm going to have to play it on PS5 instead. That also doesn't have voice chat. Now, voice chat, I don't care about because guess what? Everybody just uses Discord anyway. I remember. Do you guys know if Helldivers has voice chat built in?
No,
it doesn't. Yeah, and you know what? I didn't complain about that because when I was playing a match with you, and I was playing a match with Jimmy, and you know what I did both times? And this is gonna be very funny because I was playing on my TV, on my computer. Or actually, no, I was actually on my PS5, and you were on your computer, and I think Jimmy was playing on his computer as well because it does have crossplay. I just put my AirPods in my phone and then I connected to Discord and I just played like that. When we were playing together, could you hear my game and everything?
Not really.
Yeah, the noise cancellation of AirPods is just freaking amazing. And so when I sit down to play, I don't care if a game has built-in crossplay or built-in voice chat because I could just find some other way to voice chat. I used to really care about it, but Discord and, just like these headphones, they've kind of made me not care about it nearly as much as I used to.
I think that may be different for just now reading the reviews. People that are jumping in solo, right? So like just trying to queue up with randoms. So like the only real option when you queue up with randoms would be in-game voice chat, in-game text chat, neither of which appears to be available. But I mean, yeah, all of these things, right? Like the lack of voice chat, the lack of duos, so you can't play with a duo. You have to play with trio. All of this, it seems like who is this for, right? In terms of the Elden Ring audience versus the cross section of people that would want those multiplayer aspects. I mean, certainly it sounds like a lot of fun, right? But like it's just hard to capture that. So it is surprising that they did exceed basically the entire Dark Souls trilogy combined in terms of concurrent users. I am curious to see where that continues, right? Like, will it keep? I assume it has not kept that up, and I assume it won't keep that up.
Well, let me ask you a question. You and Carrie, don't look it up. How many people do you think are playing Elden Ring Night Rain right now? Carrie, I'll let you go first.
60,000.
Okay.
I like that number. So the concurrent high was 300,000, right? Something like that?
Yes. That was as of how many days ago? I don't remember what day that was on. That was 3 days ago that was posted.
I'll say 100. I do think it's gone down.
Okay. It's 313,593.
I was going to say I'm ready to eat crow. I'm ready to eat crow. But
that was the all-time peak 3 days ago. Today it's 302,270. So it's pretty much the same.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
that's really impressive.
So
it really is.
So yeah, I mean, like that's the thing that gets me is that, especially with not having being able to speak, I didn't know that wasn't a thing, and having all the limitations of like queuing solo and all the other stuff where you can't even speak to a person. These games are very get good, so the meta is so rapid paced for this game that there is no allowance for people to like, oh, he's new, he should just, figure this stuff out. But if you can't even speak to someone, that's immensely frustrating to just have this divide. So it's curious to see that 300,000 people are still playing, because I almost suggest that the threshold, like the ramp up of them like coming to grips with the play style has caught up. Because you would expect that if it's super frustrating with the amount of people that you're playing, that would dwindle down, unless you just get a group of 3 all the time, which I don't think is like possible. Like too many people have different things going on in their lives. Like it's sensationally hard to get one person to like have like a gaming schedule with you. I had someone message me, like I had played. This is long ago, digression. This is when Army of Two came out for the 360, and he like joined me like as a rando, and like he was like so happy to play with someone that was just good that he friended me, and he was like, oh, thank God you like, he's like, we got to play this. So I played with him, and then never played with him like for a while.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hey, like no, this is not offense to you, but I'm looking for people that are playing often, and whatever, and I have to remove you from my friends list. And I was like, well, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
no big deal. But like for him, his friends list were like, these people are gamers and they're available, and I know that I can count on them to play games. And I just wasn't available for, especially like after like 2009 and 2010, I had left 360 basically.
Yeah. You were a god gamer, but
Yeah.
you were not available.
Yeah, I transcended to PC at that time, so do apologize.
As somebody who is fine not talking to people when I'm playing, I'm okay not having voice chat in. But what they really should do if they're not going to have voice chat in is they should just straight up steal Apex Legends ping system.
Oh yeah,
because that's just it. It made that game so much more fun to play as a solo player. I would just sit down and my team would be like, they would point, hey, danger over there. There's a thing over here. Let's go over here. And it just made it so easy to communicate. I was talking to my son about it, and he said, well, you can kind of do that from the map, but that's not the same. The ping system was smart in Apex Legends, and I wish every single multiplayer game would have that so that I didn't have to hear people screaming into their terrible microphones with awful music blasting in the background while their neglected children are screaming.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't actually want to talk to random people online. I don't. So I'm with you.
I hardly want to talk to people I know.
Seriously.
All right. Well, let's move on and talk about the games that we've been playing this week. I have played nothing. I have been incredibly busy.
Boo.
My grandkids have been here, and we've been hanging out with them instead of playing video games. Although every day my grandson comes up and he says, hey, Pops, we play video games? And I say, no, not right now, buddy. Sorry.
That's cute.
But Carrie, what have you been playing, man?
I've been nonstop playing Oblivion. It's like the game that I keep going to, and it's it has all of it. It's so funny because in some ways they really elevated the game and took away a lot of the cruft from the original one. So it is like a full on remake. Like just having sprint and all like shield bash and how they do combat has been enhanced. There are things that are just not vanilla Oblivion, and they took it to another level. But they kept all the Oblivion-y type of stuff. So even the voice dialogue is pretty much the same. They updated the facial stuff, which is helpful. But it's funny because it's a weird difference between the two. And loading, obviously Bethesda games on games that are limited in RAM. Skyrim didn't have this problem as much. You were not going into doors all the time where you're just like load. But this happens frequently, especially in like the Mage Tower. So I'm going through all the guilds, and the Mage Tower is hilarious because you like open up the door and you're in like a 10 by 10 room. It's just a circle, and then
with
they
more
have
doors.
Yeah, it's just teleporters, right? You go in there and it's not a full load, but it is like a side load. And then literally inside of this nonsense, there's a door that is just a hallway to another door that loads something. It's the dumbest thing. I'm like, why did they do this? Why didn't you just have a small hallway? I don't get what's going on here. So there's like those types of things that are happening where, I'm like, man, why is there some things that they have the Fighters Guild quests suck, and it's all over the map. And just randomly, they won't have a marker on the map. So then I'll have to like go read and I do this and talk.
Or
to
you'll have a little map that has like not in the game map. They'll have the little other map that you can look at that has the markers,
right?
And then you have to guess where they are on the real map.
So there's just like things like that where I don't know. I find it. I still love it. I'm having a fantastic time. I'm like level 31 right now, and also how they redid all of like the leveling system is a lot better than Oblivion. So just having like I already finished up Dark Brotherhood, Fighters Guild, Mage Guild, and I'm about to finish up the Thieves Guild. And I'm like kind of laughing to myself because like shut the gates of Oblivion. I'm like, just give me like 2 years and I'll get to that.
A man has priorities.
Yeah.
I could do with a few less Oblivion gates in the game, though. I will say that.
Yeah,
sure.
like that's one of the things that like I hate. The Oblivion gates suck. Like you just want to. So I'm like getting all my gear ready so that I can just like chameleon 100% and just beeline to the end to shut that gate. I don't care to fight anyone. I don't as go there, do this, that, and then get to the end segment because I did really like the ending sequence, especially with the theme music. The music in the game is just fantastic and lots of really cool stuff. And I'm enjoying going through this stuff all over again. And I just, I think I got like 48 hours in right now. It's the one game that I'm just still playing.
I want to get back to it so bad, but then I also have Doom the Dark Ages, which I'm more than halfway done with, and I can finish that one much faster. But the fact that the Switch 2 is coming we're recording this on the 1st, so in 4 friggin' days, I'm never going to get back to these freaking games. And it makes me sad because they're just like, I feel like I've abandoned them. And I was really having fun with both Oblivion and Doom the Dark Ages. They're both really good games. I just don't have the time to finish them.
Right. Yeah. I just bought Courage of Wisdom, the Zelda Switch game.
Oh, the one where you play as Zelda.
Yeah. I bought the physical version of it because it's enhanced on the Switch 2 for free.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, this probably, I think it's going to be like the first game I play and beat on the Switch 2. I will have Donkey Kong and Cyberpunk, but I think I'm going to finish on that one first.
Have they said if Xenoblade Chronicles X is going to be enhanced? I know that we saw that there was a hidden 60 frames per second mode. On Switch 1?
I think, no, I haven't heard anything, but someone said something to me on Twitter. They know a game, Jurassic Park. There's a Jurassic Park game that is not in the list, and it runs like dog water in the handheld mode, but runs okay when it's docked. And he's going to play it on the Switch 2 in handheld mode and see if it actually runs better with it not being like an official update. He's going to use that as his barometer. And I was like, let me know. Like, that sounds very interesting. So that's like his canary in the coal mine if that will happen.
Because I loved Xenoblade Chronicles X when I played it on the Wii U, but the reason I stopped playing was because the audio mixing was some of the worst that I have ever heard in my life. Like you'd be in the middle of a dialogue conversation and the music would be like, yeah, over top of the conversation. You're like, I can't hear what they're saying. It's so annoying. And the music was not very good, at least in that one song that was annoying me. So I just pieced out, said, no, thank you. I'm not going to play it anymore. Apparently all that's fixed on the Switch.
Huh.
But if it's also 60 frames per second on the Switch 2,
right? Yeah.
Then that's why I've been waiting.
Dude, there's that thing like, what was it? Like Mario Kart 8 got an update and it's now the 64-bit version. Did you see the news for that?
60?
No.
What?
So the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch got an update, ostensibly for Switch 2, but it also had knock-on effect where it now actually runs a lot better on emulating it. So there is
good job, Nintendo.
That's funny.
So there is a reality somewhere where this is only for like if they still have like if they're 32-bit and not 64-bit, but there is like a weird reality where the updates that are coming out might make emulation better as well. So, the big hope, right, is that all the Switch 1 games just like magically run better on Switch 2. And I know Echoes of Wisdom, whatever the name is. I know that it was not great on Switch 1. And when I was emulating it, it kind of just automatically ran at 60 FPS when I was doing it. So I did 4K 60. And I was I don't really want to play this on my desktop. And I was like, I'll wait for this on Switch 2, just thinking that it would like automatically be better. So I'm kind of lucky that happened, given the current circumstances. But anyway, I was like, I'll wait for the price to come down. I bought it for like $42 on Woot, but they have the Middle East version. Whatever, it's not a big deal. It's still, everything's in English, right? But the copy I have is the Middle East version, not the North American version. And I just have collector's purposes. I'm just like, oh man, but it's whatever.
What have you been playing, Rich?
So a few games. I'll try to cover them pretty quickly. First, I've been playing TMNT Tactical Takedown. I really wanted to talk about this game. First of all, it's just a good game, but I also just like the studio, Strange Scaffold. So previous to this game, they've made games like I Am Your Beast and El Paso Elsewhere. They also just had a like company profile on The Verge. So I'll share that article with you, Bill, so that you can put it in the show notes. But I just really like this company and this profile because of what they typically do. And so there are two stories we didn't talk about today. One of them being like the union thing where I think was it Blizzard or Microsoft? Anyway, Bethesda, yes, where there's now a union and they signed a contract with Bethesda or ZeniMax or whatever. And so, that's going forward, but also Black Panther was canceled and that was like 4 years in pre-production. But like what Strange Scaffold does is they make really small games really fast, right? And so like they just are very well aware of what is a reasonable scope of a game for them to make at their size. And they do it, right? They try very hard to avoid crunch. So I understand that they do that well. And so they were highlighted in The Verge recently, and those games always have positive reviews, and at least those three that I mentioned that I've played, TMNT Tactical Takedown, I Am Your Beast, El Paso Elsewhere, are just all good games, right? Like El Paso Elsewhere was very reminiscent of like PS1, Max Payne, original Max Payne era. I Am Your Beast is just like a fast-paced first-person shooter, and then TMNT Tactical Takedown is like a really like innovative take on tactics, right? Like the four turtles have different abilities and act differently, and like you going from stage to stage, you have to sort of shift your mindset in what your abilities are. So that was really fun. I also went back to a game called Garlic. I did that because I recently bought a leverless controller for the first time.
Ooh, oh, nice.
Yeah. So the reason I bought this was because I've been wanting, I found my emails from over 10 years ago from before the Hitbox was released. The Hitbox was the first leverless controller. Mm-hmm. And before it was released, I was like, oh, I want one. And I have my emails to like the manufacturers of Hitbox, like, oh, I've pre-ordered, blah, blah, blah. But it was just like $300 at the time. And I couldn't like justify it.
Right.
Then recently, the 8-Bit Dough, they put up for pre-order their leverless, and it's like $80. And I'm like, well, I think there are $80 leverless now, right? So I went ahead and bought one now rather than waiting for the 8-Bit Dough. And I've been playing Garlic on that, which is just like a platformer, 2D platformer that's, you're trying to get through the level as not necessarily as quickly as possible, but it has like these sort of acrobatics to it where it can be challenging, kind of like Celeste or something like that. And so, yeah, I've been doing that with the leverless, and it is a lot of fun. So I'm really enjoying that. And then lastly, Hollow Knight. I went back to that. I thought I had put in like 10 hours. Turns out I've only put in like 5. So I think, and at this point, I've surpassed where I was before. So I think I'm still like 30 to 40% through. So I still have quite a bit of ways to go. I started trying that with the leverless, but no, it was too many inputs. It was like, there's dash, there's ground pound, there's like wall jumps. I was like, no, I'm going back to control pad for this one. But it's been fun to go through that. I don't think I hold it in as high regard as everyone else does in terms of Metroidvanias. So I'm looking forward to finishing then Prince of Persia and trying out Nine Souls, which is another Metroidvania, and like figuring out what is my Metroidvania ranking, because it's one of my favorite genres. So I'm curious.
It's a fantastic genre, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see where this all lands for me. And that could be something I make a video about one day.
Do you feel like with the leverless, do you feel like if you used it enough that you'd be okay with Hollow Knight, or do you think that it's just too much?
I think I'd probably be okay. I would likely remap. One of the things that's weird about me is that I don't love to go through remapping. I love like Flickstick and stuff like that. And so like if I can find a community profile that has it, even better, right? Like if I don't have to change anything, even better. Because I don't really like just time to game, right? Like what I really want to do is just play the game. So like because the dash is on RT, it's just in a bit of a weird spot. It's like my pinky when it feels like that should be like one of these buttons over here. So like I
Because
could
you're using it all the time.
yeah. So I could remap that stuff. One of the reasons, by the way, I also don't like remapping is because I don't know what's coming, right? So I don't know what mechanic I'm going to unlock that then does use the B button, for example. And now I have to remap again and I have to get used to that again. So it just made more sense with a control pad, whereas like Garlic is like 2 buttons. It's jump and dash. But I've also been using the leverless for fighting games, which use all the buttons. It just makes more sense because that's how I've been playing fighting games forever is top 3 punches, bottom 3 are kicks. And then left hand is getting used to kind of WASD, but also I'm fairly used to WASD already, right? So it's not that big of a jump for me.
So let me ask you a question. Let's say you're doing a Hadouken, right?
Yeah.
So you have to push down, and then you have to keep holding down and then push the right button, and then you have to let go of the down, or is it just down right?
You get used to it as down right. So like you just kind of flick, right? Like
you just roll.
Yeah, roll, exactly.
Okay.
And even the Shuriken, same thing, except when you end with both fingers pressed down as opposed to ending with just the one finger pressed down.
Okay.
So like, you tap this, and then you hold them both down. But it's a roll, like you said.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. I've got one that's supposed to be on its way from Junk Food, and I'm very interested in trying it. I've always looked at it and been like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But maybe I can. Is it recognized by Steam Input?
Yeah. It's
okay.
So you can change like the input. I forget the options, but the default for this one is X input. So it's just an X input gamepad. And you can change some things up. There are some like extra buttons here that you can see. So like these 2, I don't know what they are by default, but you can probably map them.
Usually insert coin.
Yeah, well, so like these are buttons too, right here. And these are like,
okay.
Start, select, home. One of these is home. I don't know what the other one is. So yeah, it's chock full of, different options. But by default, it is, when I plug it in, it's recognized as X input.
All right. Very cool.
Very quickly, I want to make a quick digression here, but I do want to ask a question. Do you guys remember the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? 1989, 1990.
Heck yeah.
With Vanilla Ice?
Yeah.
No, that was the
2.
second.
That was the second one.
That was the second one?
Yeah,
okay. Well, yes, I do remember.
The first one was the one where Raph was the badass. Raphael was the badass.
So do you remember the rap song TURTLE Power?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the leader of the group for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Leonardo.
In the cartoons, Leo is the leader. I felt like Raph was the leader in the movie, but I don't remember who was the actual leader.
In TURTLE Power, the song, the lyrics are, it's Raphael, he's the leader of the group transformed by the norm of some nuclear goop. And as a kid, that was when I realized I was a full-on nerd because it enraged me to know. I'm like, Leonardo is the leader of the group.
Well, all I can think of is he's somehow going to bring this around to Halo.
I think in other like instances, like Donatello's the leader, right? I don't know, but that's what I thought. Did the NES cover enrage you too? Do you remember that?
Oh, they all had red bandanas, right? Yeah. So that was but then that game was like hard as nails.
No kidding.
So no, I mean, I didn't, as a kid, I didn't really look at the cover art all that much, to be honest. I just remember reading the manual.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering if this had anything to do with the original comic, and I guess the original comic, they all had red.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I
didn't know that as a kid. I was just like, why are they all red?
Yeah, the cartoons were by and large my sole like canon for how this whole thing was.
Yeah.
So
of course.
Yeah, when you watch the movie, you're like, oh, cool, it's a live action movie. I can't wait to see that. And then I really loved the song TURTLE Power. I genuinely loved it as a kid. But I remember at the time I didn't think I was like a nerd, but I was like, Leonardo's the leader of the group. Why are they saying this? This is terrible.
That's awesome. Amazing reaction.
Yeah. 10-year-old me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember what voice message is waiting for us. Because I grabbed it. Unless, do we have to go, Rich?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. I don't remember what the person sent in because I added it and now I've forgotten what it is and I didn't make a note for myself. So here's a voice message that you guys can send in voice messages and be on the show yourself at voicecast.app/nerdnest, just like this person did, whose name and topic I forgot. Here we go.
Hey, Bill. Congrats on the 100th episode of the podcast. I just got PC Game Pass for the first time, so my girlfriend and I could play Doom and the new Indiana Jones game. I was not going to pay, with taxes, over 200 Canadian to buy both of them. As I was looking into Game Pass, I saw that PC Game Pass is $15 a month for games on day one, and Xbox Standard Game Pass is $17 a month, and you don't get games on day one. Why do you all think that Microsoft respects PC owners more than their Xbox audience that actually bought their hardware?
That's a great
Gary,
question.
what do you think?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's a real head scratcher with like PC Game Pass. Like, so $15 is Canadian. I think it's like $12 for the PC in USD. I could be wrong, but I know that regardless of anything, the PC Game Pass subscription is the cheapest of all the subscriptions, yet it acts as good as the, not ultimate, but what Game Pass used to be regular for console. And then they made Game Pass Core, which had like 25 games into it and like a weird mixture of games, as that same price for PC Game Pass. So
Which also gives you access to the online play.
Yeah. So there is a weird thing where when you're looking at it, it almost looks like they're pushing people to PC because it's a sweeter deal by and large. So it's just a really confusing thing to look at from afar. But yeah, it becomes like on the PC side of things, it makes it an even sweeter deal, especially with how game prices have increased. So, and with the cadence of the first party titles that Microsoft has been producing since November, Game Pass has been banging on all cylinders. So like the cost for it and everything else. But yeah, to answer the question specifically, why does Microsoft seemingly make their own people like kind of second class citizens? I have no idea. I don't know. I'm sure there's something in there why that's happening, but I couldn't be sure.
Yeah. Good wording, loaded wording, perhaps, right? why does Microsoft respect the PC audience more? I think it's a pretty common economic concept, right? Captive audience. The Xbox audience is a captive audience. Certainly, they could be on PlayStation 5, they could be on Switch, but if they bought the Xbox hardware, chances are higher they're going to be playing just Xbox as opposed to another platform. If you're on PC, you're much less of a captive audience. In fact, you're likely playing on Steam, not on some Microsoft, PC Game Pass, and even more likely playing on Roblox or something like that, based on the statistics that we looked at. I think that was in a group chat, that wasn't on the episode, but we saw statistics that are like, yeah, it goes like Roblox, then Minecraft and Steam are tied, I think, and then anyway. So the point is, Microsoft is trying to get more of the PC audience, I think, than they are trying to make money off of the Xbox audience.
It could also be that the pricing schema is like the supersize me type of stuff, where they are pricing it in so far that if you wanted the day one games, you're like a skip and jump away from Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, where you can have PC, Xbox, and cloud, where you're like, well, it's $5 more a month, where I'll get all this extra stuff, and why wouldn't I just do that for $60 a year? Like, okay, difference.
You put the low tier out there, and it exists, but it's not there for real customers.
No.
It's there so that you can say starts at insert your region's price here.
Yeah. So I would say it's probably a mixture of both. That's actually an excellent point, Rich, is that, yeah, I would totally, it's like an attractive price to get people into getting Game Pass.
Don't expect it to stay that way if Microsoft and Game Pass were the biggest subscription available on PC, right? Like if everybody was subscribed to it, then obviously those prices will go up in a heartbeat.
You know what I learned about Game Pass that it makes total sense because I've done it. And on retrospect, I totally see it, is that one of the big draws for Game Pass and game developers to put their game on Game Pass is DLC sales. I don't own Forza Horizon 5. I have it on Game Pass, but I bought the Hot Wheels expansion, even though I don't own it. And I just wanted to do the Hot Wheels thing, and it was like $10 or whatever. I was like, whatever, sure.
We were talking about this when we were at PAX. We were having dinner with some devs. I won't say who the devs were, but we were having dinner with these devs, and we were talking about it, and they said that's exactly what happens is they make a lot of their money from DLC, and that like they get on Game Pass, and then people feel like, well, I'm really enjoying this game, and I haven't paid anything for it. I'm using air quotes for audio listeners. So I feel way less bad about buying DLC for it. And so even though they are quote unquote losing money on putting their game on Game Pass, they're making that money back on selling DLC that they otherwise would not have sold because people wouldn't have tried their game.
Yeah, apparently the attach rate for DLC on Game Pass far exceeds what a normal game with DLC does.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
it's really fascinating because I would never buy DLC for a game that I don't own.
Let's see, that's like the same thing of like free to play. People buy stuff on free to play games, so they don't own the game, but they're buying the stuff. So you can see the angle of when you talk about it. I'm in 100% agreement with you, Bill. Like, why would you buy DLC for a game that you don't own? But then it does work out how free to play games have already worked out, and it's interesting data to hear. But yeah, so it's perhaps that is also a wedge that they use, that if you are doing PC Game Pass and you're also selling DLC on PC Game Pass, that acts as a wedge for getting them into the ecosystem, right? Because now they have a solid part that like leaves them there. I'm getting a call.
Love the music. Anything to add there, Rich?
No, yes. One more thing on the Xbox thing. I don't know what it's like today, but I remember comparing available titles on Xbox Game Pass versus PC Game Pass a year or so ago, probably a year and a half or more. And the Xbox Game Pass library was much, much bigger than the PC Game Pass library. I assume it's pretty much closer to parity now, but back in the day, it was a pretty big difference.
What was there was a company, I think it was Capcom. The Capcom that patched all of their games to get rid of games for Windows Live.
Yes, it was Capcom. So Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Lost Planet 1 and 2. I forget what else. But yeah, a few games that came out during that GFWL era have now had that patched out.
What a mess.
Yeah. But cool that Capcom has stayed on it, right? Like that's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's for sure. Like, that thing that doesn't exist anymore, we should probably get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
I love it when I'm playing a game on the Steam Deck or on SteamOS or something, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this game. I hit start. Exit to menu, exit to Windows. It always says exit to Windows.
Exit
and I'm
to
like,
Windows,
I'm like, you don't know who you're talking to, do you?
Yeah. That's funny.
All right. So I think that we have run through just about everything that we wanted to hit today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you click that like button. Rich, you're still on sabbatical?
Yes, I am. For my recommendation this week, I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel that I've been watching for a long time. I don't know, Carrie, you might watch this channel, Jeremy Parrish.
Yep.
So Jeremy Parrish is awesome. He is basically cataloging the entire release history of individual consoles. So like he is going through in order the NES, the Sega Master System.
Oh.
So like every new video is the most recent up to the point that he's gotten for release for that console. So like the video he had most recently was SMS Works. So this is for Sega Master System, and he's talking about Time Soldiers and East, which I think this was the first time it came over to America. And so Time Soldier sucks. East is awesome. But I just
are these like reviews, or is he just going through like how the games were made?
He's going through the context of the release and like what the time it was in. So like
it's almost like a documentary.
Yes, exactly. So
it's really cool. He should have way more subscribers than he does.
Way more. So like that video I'm talking about has like 10K views.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, you know, maybe you don't care about Time Soldiers, but it's so information rich in those 10 minutes. Like everybody should be watching it.
He's the same guy that he also did the annotated reviews. Is that him?
I don't remember annotated reviews now.
So YouTube had a feature where you could annotate videos, and then YouTube got rid of that feature. So it doesn't work anymore. It was legitimately, he did one on, it was the Capcom game that came out late. And it was like a green dinosaur guy, and it's like a cult classic. What is the name escaping me?
Capcom.
Yoshi.
No.
Green dinosaur.
It's Capcom. He's like a green dinosaur. He's greenish. It's
and this is the
Raptor.
protagonist.
It's like Tip Top Splipsh, whatever. It's like a name like that.
Splipshed.
It's something like that. The name is escaping me right now.
Mega Man.
But it's
Dino Man.
the game is like crazy expensive if you want to like actually purchase it. But he had annotated it, like, so he wasn't actually speaking and he's just playing through the game. And it was like, what was that? VHS? Not VHS.
Right. Pop-up video.
It was just like
right.
pop-up video, but playing a game. And it was like, as he was going through, it was like, bloop, and it would show you like information. It was like about that. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And it
That's a
doesn't
great
work
idea.
anymore at all. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a thing that you can only experience way back then. And if you don't know what YouTube annotated is, you have zero idea what I'm talking about and won't even be able to appreciate it anymore anyway.
Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
Jeremy Parrish is great. He's been in this business for a long time.
Yeah.
So like
I
he's
know the
written
name.
books.
I don't know what else has he done.
I think he's been on all the things, right? So I think he was on One Up for a long time.
Isn't he?
Oh, I used to listen to that show.
Doesn't
I don't know if he was on a podcast, but yeah, he was a writer for sure.
I might be confusing him with another guy, but isn't he like the video game archive?
He's very into. I don't know if we're talking about the same guy, but he's very into like video game preservation, video game history, video game archiving. But I don't know. You might be thinking of like Frank Cifaldi also.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a different guy.
I think Frank Cifaldi is the guy that did annotated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so I am mixing these up. Yeah, but Jeremy Parrish, Jeremy Parrish is the Bionic Commando guy, right? In the YouTube, he is a guy Bionic Commando that's running.
Sure.
I don't know.
As his avatar.
Oh, okay.
Does he?
I love Bionic Commando.
I'm looking it up. No, I mean right now his avatar is just him with a cap on and glasses.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
Jeepers Creepers.
But either way, great writing, great videos. Anybody that loves retro gaming, I think, would enjoy this channel. So check it out.
There's a link down below so that you guys can check it out. Make sure that you do. But now I just have to remember to actually do that.
Yep.
All right, Carrie, what are you working on, man?
So I am working on multiple things, but the video that I have coming out soonest is probably going to be the Asus Tough Gaming T500 desktop. And it's just their desktop line. It's kind of a small form factor guy that is in a desktop form factor. So old school, lays horizontally. It's super weird because the ports are facing both ways. So on the bottom side, it reads correctly, but on the top side, it's upside down. And I was like, they have feet on this thing, so it can only go in one direction. I don't know, super weird. Like it's supposed to be, I have no idea what they're doing here, but I love the Tough series of Asus, what Asus does. And the Tough series is typically like their inexpensive line. And you get really good value for their stuff. So I like the Tough laptop series and their Tough desktop series. There's the stuff that I gravitate towards more because you get a lot of bang for your buck. And when they go on sales, they become like actually things that you can recommend. So I'm doing a review on that, and mostly it's great because I got some data on a 5060 Ti, so I have all that data that I collected. I'm sending it back to them already, so I'm done with it, but that's the video I have coming first, and then I have to finish up my Lenovo Legion Go S, the original review, but they only sent it to me like 3 weeks ago, and
This is the white one?
this is the white one, yeah. Lenovo sent it to me 3 weeks ago and said that they would send me the other ones later. But I haven't done a review on this yet, so it makes sense that they haven't sent me anything just yet. And then I have another video that I'm working on in the background is Intel sent me the Claw 2, the 8 AI again, because I had to send it back to MSI. And Intel's like, hey, we came out with a driver and we have like 20% better performance. Can you do a video on it? It's like, I don't got it anymore. I went back to MSI. And they were like, oh, crap. Okay, we're going to get you one. Hang tight. And they sent me one over. So that is like on the back burner. But it's old news at this point. But I can at least show off because I still have all the old data. Like, I'll be able to show what they've been able to actually achieve. So that's like a far video. And then I have some like really good news coming next week. But I can't talk about it just yet. But I won't be here next week because I will be in California next week.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, enjoy your trip to California. Everybody, thank you for watching the NerdNest podcast. If you haven't already, head on over to youtube.com/thefox. Head on over to youtube.com/fanthedeck. I almost forgot because it's been so long. But, if you're already here, before you click on those things, click subscribe before you go. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see you on the next one. Stay rad, everybody. Bye-bye.